Each negative action produces 4 types of karmic effects: the fully ripened effect, the effect similar to the cause, the conditioning effect, and the proliferating effect. Below is a detailed explanation of each. The principle of cause and effect is extremely important. However, many people are unaware of it, and their intentions behind certain actions do not align with this principle. As a result, their actions bring great agony to their current lives, and they will continue to experience suffering in the infinite kalpas of their future lives. Therefore, of all the pith instructions in Buddhism, a practitioner must first develop unwavering faith in the principle of cause and effect, i.e., what goes around comes around, meaning virtuous actions bring happiness while harmful actions lead to suffering. Those who are not raised with this belief may have serious doubts about the existence of rebirth and karma. Worse yet, they may eventually form wrong views and even slander the principle of cause and effect, resulting in severe karmic consequences. It is crucial for people to understand that any criticism of the principle of cause and effect arises from a misunderstanding on their part. Throughout history, there has not been a single individual, whether a scientist or practitioner, who has been able to truly overturn or disprove this principle. Some people may reject the principle, but their disbelief is rooted in personal doubts. No one can provide irrefutable evidence that disproves it. Due to the influence of your environment and education from a young age, some of you have always been somewhat skeptical about the principle of cause and effect. Even during the most crucial moments, you remain unconvinced, leading to the squandering of your previous efforts and practice and resulting in failure just before success. As intelligent practitioners, we should engage in an in-depth analysis of the principle of cause and effect. If we cannot find any fault, we should embrace it without hesitation, for we now understand that our previous disbelief stemmed from a lack of understanding. Previously, we covered the 10 negative actions, which are crucial for us to understand. Today, we will examine the karmic effects of these negative actions. The karmic effects mentioned below will undoubtedly arise. Those who are unaware of or do not believe in this principle will inevitably experience the negative karmic effects. Engaging in any of the 10 harmful actions driven by hatred results in rebirth in the hell realms. If motivated by desire, it leads to rebirth as a preta, or hungry ghost. If motivated by ignorance, it results in rebirth as an animal. Once born into these lower realms, one must endure the specific sufferings associated with them. Nagarjuna states in the precious Garland of the Middle Way, greed leads to rebirth as a preta, hatred leads to rebirth in hell, ignorance leads to rebirth as an animal, while the opposite leads to rebirth as a human or a god. Additionally, the Ityuktaka Sutra, a Buddhist scripture meaning "thus has it been said," says, "Those full of greed, hatred, and ignorance have no wisdom to see the bright truth. Thus, they definitely won't attain liberation from birth, old age, sickness, and death. And those free from greed, hatred, and ignorance have the wisdom to see the bright truth. Thus, they can surely attain liberation from birth, old age, sickness, and death." When intense greed, hatred, or ignorance arise, for example, if you have been in a state of strong anger for an extended period today, if you fail to purify the corresponding negative actions completely, their fully ripened effect will inevitably lead you to a lower realm. The fully ripened effect refers to the karmic results when the effects of various causes finally come to fruition. Master Yangming Yansho's Record of the Mind Mirror states that various causes can lead to the same karmic effect, much like various seeds of bitterness yielding fruits that all taste bitter, and various seeds of sweetness producing fruits that all taste sweet. This is the distinctive characteristic of the fully ripened effect. Additionally, an intense and overwhelming impulse whether it is extreme desire, anger, or ignorance, driving a prolonged and continuous accumulation of negative actions leads to rebirth in the hell realms. If the impulse is somewhat weaker and the actions fewer in number, it results in rebirth as a preta. If the impulse is even milder and the actions less frequent, it leads to rebirth as an animal. Therefore, whatever actions you've committed will inevitably result in corresponding karmic effects. The Sutra of the Great Heap of Jewels also states, "The virtuous and vicious actions a sentient being has conducted always follow them like shadows. Our negative and positive actions consistently follow us like shadows. Even if the karmic effects haven't yet manifested, the corresponding suffering and happiness will certainly arise in due time." However, many people with wrong views do not understand this principle. They believe that negative actions will bring wealth and happiness, which is fundamentally incorrect. You should know that any happiness an evildoer is experiencing is, in fact, the karmic result of their past good deeds. This is similar to a farmer who this year is planting no crops or even destroying his land, yet can still rely on the grain he harvested last year to sustain him for a while. On the surface, it seems this farmer has plenty of food, but since he isn't accumulating any grain for the future, he will find himself without food once his current stock is exhausted. As stated in Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, except in very rare cases, it takes a certain period of time for the karmic effects of our actions to ripen. Generally speaking, this ripening does not occur as immediately as the bleeding from a cut. We must understand and accept the principle of cause and effect by studying it through various means. Otherwise, if we refuse to accept this principle, we will behave in the ways described in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. If one does not accept the existence of rebirth, there is no evil they wouldn't commit. Such a person will commit terrible acts. Of course, the most subtle link between a cause and its effect cannot be identified even by an arhat, let alone by us ordinary beings. Here is a story from the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom. Once, Buddha Shakyamuni and Sariputra were at the Jetavana monastery when they suddenly saw an eagle chasing a pigeon. The pigeon was so frightened that it flew to the Buddha and hid beside him. When the Buddha's shadow fell over the pigeon, it immediately calmed down, stopped trembling, and was no longer afraid. However, when the Buddha walked forward and Sariputra's shadow was cast over the pigeon, the bird resumed trembling and fear. Seeing this, Sariputra asked the Buddha, "Like you, I have also eliminated the 3 poisons. But why does your shadow calm the pigeon and remove its fear, while my shadow cannot?" The Buddha replied, "This is because although you have eliminated the 3 poisons, your subtle habitual tendencies have not yet been completely removed." Then the Buddha pointed at the pigeon and said, "Look at the previous lives of this pigeon, and tell me how many lives it has been since this being lost human form and was reborn as a pigeon." With his miraculous power, Sariputra saw that over the past 80,000 great kalpas, this pigeon had been continuously reincarnated as a pigeon. However, Sariputra was unable to determine what kind of being the pigeon was in the very beginning. Then Sariputra tried to see what the pigeon would become in future lives, and saw that it would continuously be reborn as a pigeon over the next 80,000 great kalpas. He could not tell when the pigeon would finally attain liberation. So Sariputra asked the Buddha, and the Buddha, in his unhindered wisdom, told him, "This pigeon will be reborn as a pigeon for as many great kalpas as there are grains of sand in the Ganges River. It will finally be reborn as a human after its negative actions are exhausted. After another 500 lives, this being will finally encounter the Dharma and will eventually attain liberation." As you can see, even an arhat cannot clearly describe the most subtle link between a cause and its effect, let alone us ordinary individuals. Some people like to talk nonsense, claiming things like, What you are now experiencing is the karmic effect of this or that action from your previous life. Please exercise caution when making such statements. If an arhat is unable to clearly identify the link between a karmic effect and its cause, it is highly unlikely that we, as ordinary people, can accurately deduce the causal link using only our fabricated thoughts. Generally speaking, the fully ripened effect of the 10 negative actions refers to the karmic effect of actions motivated by the 3 poisons that lead to rebirth in the 3 lower realms. We should all be clear about this. Even after one escapes the lower realms, where the fully ripened effect of one's actions had led to rebirth, and attains a human form, one continues to experience effects that resemble the causes of past actions. In fact, in the lower realms too, there are various kinds of suffering that are similar to particular causes. For example, animals that preyed on others in their past lives are predators again in this life due to the effect similar to the cause. Animals that grazed and did not prey on others in their past lives will have similar habitual tendencies in this life. The Tibetan words that correspond to the effect similar to the cause mean the result compatible with the cause. That is, the karmic result aligns with the cause. The introduction to Abhidharma states, because the result is similar to the cause, so it has the keyword similar. Because it arises from the cause, so it also means concordant. Therefore, the effect is similar to the cause, and the effect arises from the cause. This is akin to how a seed of sweetness yields sweet fruits, while a seed of bitterness yields bitter fruits. Such a causal relationship is called the effect similar to the cause. Regardless of the type of causal relationship, we must understand that causes definitely lead to their corresponding karmic effects, about which there is no doubt. The Sutra of 100 Actions states, even after hundreds of thousands of kalpas, the karmic causes won't disappear. When the causal conditions arise, the karmic effect will return to oneself. The collection of sutra passages on correct practice that cover one with merit has a similar verse. Even after infinite kalpas, your karmic actions will never fade away. When karmic effects ripen, living beings will definitely experience them. If we examine the world with our wisdom, we can easily develop a conviction in the principle of cause and effect. These effects, which are similar to the causes, can be divided into 2 categories: actions similar to the cause and experiences similar to the cause. This effect refers to a natural tendency toward actions that mirror the original cause. The actions one was drawn to in a past life tend to persist, resulting in a continuation of similar actions in the present life. As stated in the Sarvastivada Vinaya Vibhasa, Bhikkhu Bull was often reborn as a bull, causing him to ruminate like a bull when eating. One bhikkhu frequently jumped around while walking because he had been a monkey in many of his past lives. Another bhikkhu had attained certain realization, but still enjoyed looking in the mirror as he had been a prostitute in many of his past lives. As you can see, our preferences and habits in this life originate from those in past lives. If we engaged in killing in previous lives, we may still have a tendency to kill in this life. If we stole in the past, we may still feel inclined to take what is not given in this life, and so on. This helps explain why, for instance, some individuals instinctively kill insects or flies they encounter from a very young age. Such a natural inclination to harm living beings reflects similar actions performed in their previous lives. From birth, each of us behaves in distinct ways, driven by different karmic impulses. Even within the same family, siblings may exhibit contrasting tendencies. Some may take pleasure in harming or stealing, while others naturally avoid such actions and are inclined toward virtuous behavior. These inclinations are the lingering effects of past actions, known as the effect similar to the cause. For example, Jigme Tenpai Nyima Rinpoche, 1865 to 1926, was able to present the way of the Bodhisattva exceptionally well at the age of 8. Patrul Rinpoche proclaimed, Jigme Tenpai Nyima can teach the Dharma at 8 years old. This shows that the teachings of the Nyingma school are thriving with a bright future. I heard that Teresa Teng, a renowned Taiwanese singer, had a passion for singing from a very early age. At that time, most people in Taiwan entertained themselves by listening to the radio, and Tang often sang along with the songs. No matter how difficult the song was, she could sing it after listening to it a few times. At the age of 10, Teresa won her first major prize when she performed a song from the famous Chinese Huangmei opera. When I visited Yunnan province in China, I noticed that the locals admired Yan Liping for her peacock dance. It is said she has loved dancing since childhood and draws inspiration from everything in nature. For example, she observes how a piece of cloud flows, how an ant walks, how a dragonfly skims over the water, and how a peacock spreads its tail feathers. It is said that she enjoys dancing based on the theme of Tara, a female enlightened being in Tibetan Buddhism, which is quite lovely. Otherwise, if she were to spend her entire life imitating animals like peacocks, it would be difficult to predict what she might be reborn as in her future lives. Individuals in the entertainment industry who possess sources of merit often encounter productions that plant the seeds of virtue for living beings, whereas those without sources of merit but burdened by heavy karmic debts may directly or indirectly harm many people through their singing and dancing. Even if a person with such tendencies has long since passed away, their works can still influence audiences, triggering strong feelings of greed, hatred, and ignorance. This may also relate to each person's karma and aspirations. The tendencies mentioned above are the residues of actions from previous lives. Since childhood, some people have enjoyed virtuous actions, while others have preferred vicious ones and feel distressed when required to read books or engage in good deeds. Some naturally enjoy hearing, contemplating, and meditating, and can immediately recognize the merit of positive actions, whereas others are filled with wrong views and show no interest in virtuous actions. What causes these varying habitual tendencies among living beings? It is our respective effects, similar to the causes. A villager in my hometown has been talking about the faults of monastics since I was a young child. I don't know why he does this. Through his eloquence, he can focus on a trivial flaw and make it seem significant, and many people find him persuasive. He used to strongly oppose the idea of the merits and virtues of being a monastic. Although he no longer dares to openly disagree, he chooses to remain silent when this topic arises. Sometimes I deliberately mention the benefits of being a monastic in his presence, but he remains indifferent. Thus, a person's past life can be reflected in their actions in this life. This is why it is said in the sutra, to know what you did in past lives, look at what you are now. To know where you will be born in the future, look at what you do now. To determine whether you were a good or bad person in a past life, simply examine what kind of person you are in this life. If you enjoy virtuous actions and detest vicious ones, it indicates that you definitely engaged in virtuous deeds in your past life. Conversely, if you prefer vicious actions and show no interest in virtuous ones, it suggests you are an expert in vice in your past life. Therefore, you don't need to seek divination from someone with miraculous powers to learn what you were in a past life. You can simply observe your behavioral tendencies in this life, which will reveal what you were in a past life. Similarly, to understand what you will be reborn as in the next life, just consider what you do in this life. If you engage in virtuous deeds and accumulate merit every day, your future life will undoubtedly be brighter and happier. Otherwise, you will continue to experience suffering. This effect also applies to animals. The natural behaviors of certain animals, such as falcons and wolves killing prey or mice stealing food, are effects similar to and caused by their former actions. Therefore, regardless of what sentient beings are, their behavioral tendencies in this life are closely linked to those of their past lives. For example, immediately after his birth, the great Jigme Phuntsok was able to recite the Manjushri mantra, demonstrating his extraordinary affinity with Bodhisattva Manjushri from his past life. Here is another example. A young girl in Myanmar would scream at the sight and sound of an airplane because she had been a Japanese soldier who was bombed to death by an aircraft in her past life. Therefore, through these teachings, we should generate conviction in the principle of cause and effect. If you are still not convinced about cause and effect, you should express your doubts and try to refute the principle with well-reasoned arguments in the presence of a wise person. However, I believe your skepticism arises from a lack of understanding. It is utterly impossible for anyone to successfully disprove the existence of cause and effect. The teaching on the principle of cause and effect is an important, essential instruction. If you hold wrong views on this critical issue, you may not derive any benefit from the Dharma, regardless of how profound and supreme the teachings you receive are. Many people seek high teachings, which I do not oppose. However, if you don't have a solid foundation, for example, if you do not accept the principle of cause and effect and question whether virtuous actions lead to positive outcomes while vicious actions lead to negative results, then, even if you practice the most supreme pith instruction, you are merely building a mansion on ice, which will not endure. What matters most for us now is to establish a solid foundation in the Dharma. If we do not accept karma and rebirth and lack understanding of Buddhist cosmology, we will be unable to embrace the most profound teachings in Buddhism. These high teachings, no matter how great, cannot benefit inadequate Dharma recipients, just as lion's milk cannot be preserved in an inferior ceramic container. I hope everyone will reflect on this carefully. Each of the 10 negative actions leads to 2 effects that impact one's subsequent experiences. Taking life. Taking life in a past life not only shortens our current lifespan, but also makes us more prone to frequent illnesses. The Arya Bodhisattva Gocharopaya Vishaya Vikurvana Nirdesa Sutra states, taking life results in negative karmic consequences, a short lifespan and frequent illness, rebirth in a lower realm in the next life, which brings various forms of suffering. Taking life generates no merit and brings abundant suffering. Of all the corresponding karmic effects, the most significant is a short lifespan. For example, sometimes newborn babies die as a result of having taken life in a past life. For many lifetimes, they may repeatedly experience death shortly after birth. In another example, some people may live 30 or 40 years, but suddenly die in an accident. For many lifetimes, they may continue to die in accidents. They are like the pigeon that Buddha Shakyamuni and Sariputra encountered, which has been continuously reborn as a pigeon over countless lifetimes and is unable to free itself from the entanglement of the nets of karma. Some individuals reach adulthood but endure constant illnesses from early childhood until their death, experiencing no relief from their ailments. This unending suffering is the karmic consequence of having killed or harmed others in a past life. Without purifying their negative actions, they will be reborn in the 3 lower realms in future lifetimes. Therefore, when we're sick, we shouldn't focus solely on how to eliminate the disease. While it is perfectly fine to seek treatment, it is unreasonable to believe that the disease is unrelated to actions taken in previous lives. Some patients spend considerable amounts of money trying to find a cure for their illness, often with little success. However, if they recite prayers and engage in confession, the situation may improve significantly. Why is that? It suggests that the disease is a result of their past actions. Under such circumstances, it is more crucial to sincerely confess the past negative actions that led to these outcomes than to focus solely on addressing each immediate issue. We should genuinely confess our wrongdoings, vow to refrain from repeating such actions, and actively counteract their negative effects by engaging in positive actions and abandoning negative ones. By doing so, many diseases will naturally and remarkably be cured once the negative actions are purified. Taking what is not given. Stealing in the past not only leads to poverty in the present, but also makes one vulnerable to theft, robbery, or other misfortunes that scatter the few possessions one acquires among enemies or rivals. Therefore, for those who currently lack wealth or resources, it is far more beneficial to create even a small amount of merit than to go to great lengths in pursuit of riches. The Sutra on Judgment of Merits or Demerits states, "If you sow happiness, you will reap happiness. If you sow poverty, you will reap poverty. If you haven't practiced generosity in past lives, you will suffer poverty in this life." The main cause of becoming wealthy is generosity. If one's past lives lacked acts of generosity, making it not one's destiny to be rich, then no matter how hard one tries in this life, it will not lead to wealth. As the saying goes, you reap what you sow. The Sukha Sutra also says, you sow barley, you will reap barley. You plant rice, you will reap rice. You do good, you will get good in return. You do bad, you will get bad in return. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra contains a similar verse about reaping what one sows. When I studied Karl Marx's dialectical materialism at school, some teachers attempted to refute the principle of cause and condition, but no matter how eloquently they argued, they could not provide legitimate evidence to refute this principle. Therefore, we must recognize that just as sweet seeds yield sweet fruits and bitter seeds yield bitter fruits, our negative and positive actions in this life will inevitably result in corresponding suffering and happiness. The nature of causes and their resulting effects is consistent. Thus, a poisonous seed cannot yield medicinal fruit, nor can a medicinal seed yield poisonous fruit. Of course, some special cases are acknowledged in Buddhism. For example, one may have initially committed a wrongdoing, but after purifying those negative actions before a supreme object of confession, the effects of those wrongdoings may not ripen, and the act of purification can further become a source of merit. This is similar to how a plant may change its nature when mutating with other seeds. Consequently, when it comes to the law of cause and effect, a truly steadfast person should maintain an unshakable right view under all circumstances. You should not go with the flow, believing what one master says today and what another Dharma friend says tomorrow, like reeds on a wall, drifting and swaying with every passing wind, lacking stability and consistency. As previously mentioned, having stolen in a past life will result in poverty in a future life. Never having engaged in any meritorious actions, such as practicing generosity, in a past life will likely prevent anyone from becoming rich, regardless of their efforts. Furthermore, the person may even experience significant loss instead of gaining wealth. Look at the vast amounts of wealth that robbers or bandits seize during their raids, sometimes so much that it seems the earth itself can scarcely contain it. Yet, despite their plunder, those who live by theft often meet their end in hunger. Similarly, observe how merchants or those who misappropriate the possessions of the Sangha never truly benefit from their ill-gotten gains, regardless of how large those gains may be. These individuals have not accumulated any merit in their previous lives, so although they cling to their wealth like misers and refuse to contribute to society, in the end, they either die of hunger or lack the opportunity to use their wealth. Therefore, these insatiable individuals are among the poorest in the world. The Sutra of the Great Heap of Jewels says, "A person who is greedy and who never feels he has accumulated enough wealth is a frantic person who is actually the poorest." Some millionaires and billionaires lead exhausting lives despite their wealth and are not as carefree as a penniless beggar. I once saw a beggar who found an ear of corn in a trash can and began to eat it with great joy. The beggar then drank some water from a river, lay down on the grass, and gazed up at the blue sky and white clouds while listening to the gentle songs of the river. What a relaxing life! Perhaps when the beggar sleeps, he remains in a state of indivisible luminosity and emptiness. Who knows? The audience laughs. The point is, if you are busy making money all day long, and what you do benefits neither society nor yourself, you have become completely enslaved to money. You must know that the extent of your wealth is closely tied to your merit. Those who are currently reaping the karmic effects of their past generosity enjoy a lifetime of abundance, often without needing to exert any effort. Therefore, if you aspire to attain wealth, devote your efforts to practicing generosity and making offerings. This is the only way to become wealthy. Even if you haven't yet experienced this karmic effect in this lifetime, you will certainly do so in a future life. The continent of Jambudvipa has a unique power regarding the effects of actions, making it likely that actions performed early in life will manifest their effects later in the same lifetime, or, in some exceptional cases, immediately. If you happen to encounter a supreme object of merit, it is possible that the karmic effect ripens in the blink of an eye. Here is a story from the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish. Once, there was a poor man who made a living by cutting and selling firewood. One day he met a Pratyeka Buddha who had no food to eat, so the poor man offered all his food to him. The poor man then went to cut firewood on the mountain, where he saw a rabbit. He threw his sickle, which killed the rabbit, and it immediately fell to the ground. When the man went to fetch the rabbit, it transformed into a dead man and jumped onto his back, holding his head. The poor man was very frightened at first. He dared not go home during the day for fear someone would see this. He had to wait until nighttime to carry the dead body back home. Upon arriving home, the dead body fell to the ground and turned into a golden man. Later, the king overheard this and came to see the golden man. However, the king could only see a dead body, which in the eyes of the poor man appeared to be a body made of gold. The poor man offered a bit of gold to the king. The king had never seen such gold before, so he asked the poor man where he had obtained it. The poor man explained his offering to the Pratyeka Buddha. Overjoyed, the king appointed the poor man as his minister, showering him with various honors and privileges. Many similar situations occur in today's society as well. Some individuals were initially quite poor, but after encountering extraordinary circumstances or making exceptional aspirations, they naturally became wealthy. Thus, the right view of cause and effect is very important to us. Especially as Buddhists, if you do not believe in the principle of cause and effect, it's best not to prematurely pursue advanced teachings. Instead, you should study the karmic stories from the Sutra of 100 Actions and the Sutra of 100 Parables, as well as the logical reasoning found in the commentary on valid cognition. Through these studies, you will learn how cause and effect operate at the relative level and how this principle differs from the teachings of Tirthakas. Once you have established the right view of cause and effect, it becomes feasible for you to engage in any practice based on this foundation. This is akin to how a farmer can plant a variety of crops once he possesses a piece of land. However, if you do not accept even the most fundamental principle of cause and effect, then no matter how ambitious you are on the path, your practice may ultimately collapse. Therefore, we must internalize these crucial points. Engaging in theft, fraud, or any form of taking what is not given with the hope of becoming wealthy ultimately achieves the opposite of our intentions. The karmic consequences of such actions will bind one to the realm of the preta for many kalpas. Even in the later stages of this life, the negative effects will begin to manifest, leading to increasing poverty, distress, and hardship. One will lose control over the little that remains and live in a state of deprivation and helplessness. There was once a man who managed to acquire a valuable book, which was then taken away by another man. 17 years later, the man couldn't stop lamenting the theft of his book, but he could do nothing about it. Incidents like this occur due to a lack of merit. Our greed will leave us feeling increasingly impoverished and deprived, no matter how much wealth we accumulate. Our possessions will become a source of harmful actions, trapping us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. We will resemble pretas who hoard treasures but are unable to benefit from them. Observe those who appear wealthy. If they do not use their resources generously to support the Dharma, the true source of happiness and well-being in this life and future lives, or even to meet basic needs like food and clothing, they are in reality poorer than the poor. Why is that? Because although the poor lack wealth, they don't feel the internal pressure to accumulate and guard wealth, allowing them to live a more relaxed life. In contrast, some wealthy individuals are reluctant to even spend their money on themselves, let alone on the Dharma, and thus currently experience the preta's effect, similar to the cause. The commentary on the introduction to the Middle Way mentions a type of preta that guards treasures but cannot use what it guards. Similarly, the treasurer of a large corporation or the cashier in a bank is busy counting money every day, with large sums passing through their hands. Yet what this person has in their own pocket is very limited. The current preta-like experience is a karmic effect similar to the cause, resulting from past impure generosity. The Sutra on the Questions of Yasa covers 33 types of impure generosity, such as offering meat. You should consult the text at your convenience. If you engaged in impure generosity in a previous life, you may become a slave of money in this life, handling money daily while being deprived and having no control over it. To summarize, it is crucial for us as practitioners to be content with what we have and refrain from excessive desires. Furthermore, we must be mindful of the karmic consequences of our past actions. If we possess the necessary merit, we may acquire wealth effortlessly, and it is perfectly acceptable to enjoy our prosperity. However, if we lack merit, no matter how hard we strive in this lifetime, we may not achieve our desires. In such cases, there is no need to feel distressed. As long as we can support ourselves, we should avoid harboring excessive desires, as they will only lead to unhappiness. Many people today, including some Tibetans, are excessively greedy. They desire not only this, but also that. They want too much, and sometimes, if they lack sufficient merit to obtain what they desire, they resort to acquiring money through inappropriate and even illegal means. This ultimately leads to their own suffering. In reality, the key to a person's happiness lies in their mind. If the mind is well-tuned, it can effectively cope with both favorable and unfavorable situations life presents. However, if the mind is consumed by desires, no matter how much we possess, we may still lack contentment. Some people have scattered thoughts, perhaps as a result of their past karmic actions. They often contemplate unrealistic ideas, such as, "I've heard there's a wish-fulfilling tree in the 33 heaven. How can I obtain it?" Or, "America is said to be a paradise for the wealthy. I must immigrate there and become rich. Then I'll buy a private jet. How will I fuel the jet? I should search on Google and prepare in advance. Otherwise, it might be too late when the time comes." Alas, They may not achieve these plans even after many lifetimes, let alone within this life. However, they are making plans every day, which sounds highly unrealistic. Therefore, we should lead a relatively simple life according to our circumstances and avoid excessive desires. Albert Einstein said, "I believe that a simple and unassuming manner of life is best for everyone, both for the body and the mind." Whether we become wealthy or not also depends on the merit accumulated from previous lifetimes. Knowing this, we should neither become overly excited when we become rich, nor overly upset when we become poor. It is important to make the best of whatever we have. This is very important.